They say some houses have history. Ours had an endless nightmare. For nearly a decade, we weren't just living in a home. We were living in a battlefield. And the war. The war was against something ancient, something evil that wanted us out. My name is Roger Perron. In the winter of 1971, my wife, Carolyn, and I, along with our 5 beautiful daughters, Andrea, Nancy, Christine, Cindy, and April, moved into an old secluded farmhouse in Burrillville, Rhode Island. It was a beautiful, sprawling property built in 1736 with wide fields and a peaceful pond. We were full of hope and excitement, ready to build a new life in what felt like a slice of heaven. Little did we know, we had walked straight into hell. The very first day, things felt off. As we were unloading boxes, a strange, earthy smell like overturned soil permeated the house. Then came the cold spots, freezing patches of air that would appear out of nowhere, even by a roaring fire. We laughed it off, chalking it up to an old, drafty house. We were trying to hold on to logic, even as it began to unravel. The girls were the first to encounter the less explainable. They started talking about the people they saw. What was strange was that not all of them were scary at first. My youngest, April, spoke of a spirit she called Manny, a kind presence who she said would watch over her. We told them it was their imaginations, but the consistency was unnerving. They described transparent individuals who would appear and disappear. A man in old-fashioned clothes, a woman in a long dress. We tried to comfort them, but a part of us knew this was more than just child's play. Then, the disturbances started to affect all of us. Objects would move on their own. Toys would disappear and reappear in odd places. Pictures would turn themselves face down on the walls. We'd hear rhythmic knocking from inside the walls, footsteps pacing in empty rooms, and faint whispers carried on unseen breezes. It was unsettling, but still, we tried to rationalize it. An old house makes noises, the wind, anything but ghosts. But it was more than ghosts. It was a hierarchy of spirits, and one stood above them all in its cruelty. The entity that would later be identified as Bathsheba Sherman, a suspected witch who had lived on the property in the 19th century, began to make her presence known more aggressively. She was pure malevolence, and she had a particular venomous hatred for my wife, Carolyn, the mother of the house. The girls started to be physically affected. My daughter, Christine, woke up one night screaming, saying a woman with a crooked neck was standing over her, demanding she leave. Another daughter, Cindy, frequently saw a woman in a gray dress at the foot of her bed. The cellar became a place of absolute terror. It was perpetually cold, damp, and smelled of death. None of us would go down there alone after Cindy was down there one day and heard a raspy voice whisper her name right in her ear, followed by the heavy wooden door slamming shut, trapping her in the pitch black for what felt like an eternity. Then, the physical attacks began to affect Carolyn directly. She would wake up with strange, unexplained bruises and scratches on her body. We'd find her hair pulled. She often felt icy hands touching her. One morning, she screamed in pain, and when I looked, her leg had a deep, bloody puncture wound, as if a large needle had been driven into it. There was no explanation, no visible cause. The house became a place of constant torment. My youngest daughter, April, would find small piles of dirt in the middle of a clean floor. A chair once levitated in front of me and slammed back down. The sounds escalated into deafening bangs, furniture crashing, and guttural growls that would echo through the house. The psychological toll was immense. We were sleep-deprived, on edge, and the constant fear began to erode our family's peace. My wife and I would argue, not out of anger at each other, but out of sheer helplessness. How do you protect your children from an enemy you can't see? One of the most terrifying incidents involved Carolyn directly. She was lying down, feeling unwell when she felt an excruciating pain. Her chair began to lift from the floor, throwing her violently across the room, leaving her bruised and traumatized. We saw it happen. We were living with something that wanted to harm us. something that wanted to possess my wife. Desperate, we contacted Ed and Lorraine Warren, the renowned demonologists. They arrived at our home and immediately sensed the profound evil that permeated every room. Lorraine, with her clairvoyant abilities, walked through the house, her face growing grim. She confirmed our worst fears. The house was infested with spirits, and the most malevolent among them, Bathsheba, was trying to possess Carolyn. The Warrens tried to help. They performed seances, tried to communicate with the spirits, and attempted to cleanse the house. Their efforts only seemed to enrage the entities further. During one seance in our living room, the house erupted in absolute chaos. Objects flew off shelves, the temperature plummeted to freezing, and a violent, unseen force threw furniture around. Carolyn herself began speaking in tongues, her voice a deep, demonic rasp. Her body contorted in ways that were humanly impossible. It was a harrowing, terrifying scene that forced us to intervene and end the session, fearing for her life. The Warrens advised us to leave, but we were a family of 7, and we had put all our savings into that house. We couldn't just walk away. So, we endured. For nearly 10 years we lived with these entities. The attacks, the movements, the cold, the smells. It became our twisted normal. We developed routines born of fear. We never went into the cellar alone. We slept with crucifixes. We would instinctively check the shadows in every room. We watched our children's innocence be stolen from them, replaced by a constant, weary vigilance. Finally, after almost a decade of living in terror, we couldn't take it anymore. We sold the house in 1980. We left everything behind, moving to a new home that thankfully was free of such oppressive darkness. The moment we drove away from that farmhouse for the last time, it was as if a crushing weight had been lifted from our souls. The air felt lighter, the world brighter. We had survived, but the memories of that house, of what we endured, will haunt us forever. You buy a house, you make it a home. You fill it with love, laughter, and family. But sometimes a house already has a family, and sometimes that family is waiting for you. Be careful where you choose to lay your head, because some places never truly let go.